The book I'm working on now is called Green. And unlike any of the other books, which were all things that I went to Neil with or he found in my journal, this one, he said to me one day, I want you to write a book called Green. And I said, well, what do you mean? Do you mean like the environment, thing? And he said, I don't know. I just want you to write a book called Green. I set out to write the book, and I did. I wrote, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different things that we both agreed, yeah, okay, go with that. At one point, I think I was going to even make it about the history of the earth somehow and incorporate it. But everything I did felt like it wasn't my voice. I mean, I believe in all the environmental good habits. I recycle and all that stuff, but it just didn't feel like my voice. And it also felt too large for me. As I said before, I zoom in. I love to just zoom all the way into something nobody's paying attention to, negative space, the concept of not, just zoom in. And so this was too big for me, I think, or at least that's how I felt. And so at one point we shelved the idea. And then one evening at 2:30 in the morning, I was working on another book, and all of a sudden it came back in, to my head, and I just got to the computer and I started, looking up the word green, looking in the dictionary to see, like, well, how does the dictionary define this word, and how does Wikipedia define this word, and I started zooming in, I started thinking, okay, green, all these different kinds of green. I'm going to zoom in there. What I did at that point was I jotted down a little 4-line poem. Dark green, light green, dull green, bright green. And I emailed Neil 2:30 in the morning, and I said, are you up? And he wrote back, yep. And we had this meeting at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, which is also not so unusual for us. I mean, very unusual for most author editors, teams. And I read this to him, and I said, I know you don't like, rhyming texts, and it doesn't have to rhyme, but what I'm going to read to you does rhyme for the moment, for the time being. And he said, funny you're saying that. I was actually thinking maybe you should write something that rhymes, which he usually doesn't go for that. And so the book has become a poem about the color green, or on the surface it appears to be about the color green, but of course, like many of my books, it's not. It's about more than that. And I guess I can tell you too that there are die-cut holes in this book as well, but they're on every page, which from a design point of view is extremely complicated because every single page is a part of the page before it and a part of the page after it. So it's got to work on all these levels and all these different environments and ways, and it's quite complicated, but it's a lot of fun. I'm a little bit more than halfway through. But there's another example of trust, because for the first time ever in my entire career in television and publishing, I've missed a deadline. And he's just, he says it's going to take as long as it's going to take, So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful relationship. I treasure it, really.